I worked on this lab called Active Directory Basics by TryHackMe. It's a relatively new lab. It has a number of tasks, and task number 6 is about group policies. And there's a beautiful hands-on lab on this group policies um, settings, basically. So I have this attack box on the next tab here. In order to open up the lab, we need to look at the group policy management tool or window. And let me delete that. This is from my previous work. Okay, so here you see that we have this THM local domain with a number of OUs, organizational units. And down the OUs, you have group policy objects, GPOs. And there are 1, 2, 3 policies created by us, by the IT administrators. So these policies are simply collection of settings, user settings or computer settings. What we do is we first create them here and then link it to the OUs of interest or to the entire domain. For example, here this THM local domain has 2 policies linked that are default domain policy and RDP policy, remote desktop policy. These policies are applied to the entire domain, so all OUs have the same policies applied. Whereas this default domain controller policy, that is only applied to the domain controllers. So this is the typical setting. Now, these are the created policy object. These are the linked links GPOs. And on the right-hand side, I can just click on default domain policy. And on the right-hand side, you will see the scope, details, settings, delegation, steps. So scope really shows us that this policy is applied to the entire domain here. And we can see that also over here. These arrows are showing that they are linked. So it is linked. And by default, in the security filtering, you will see the authenticated users selected. This is a default setting. If you go to details, you will see more info about that. And settings is just a report basic. So it's a report showing us in a summary format. It is showing us what specific configuration this GPO applies. For example, this default domain policy has settings for the computer configuration or general configuration, nothing for the user configuration. So it says no settings defined. If you look at the security settings, let's say account policies, you will see that this default domain policy has a set of settings, let's call it, on the maximum password age, maximum password length, and such. Let's see, for example, let's look at this minimum password length. It says 7 characters. So according to the policy within the default domain policy, GPO, minimum password length should be 7 characters. And this is applied to the entire domain here. So any password inside this THM local domain, whether it is a part of IT OU or other OUs or sales OU, it should have minimum password length of 7 characters. As the admin of the system, you may not be happy with that. So what you can do is you can go to default domain policy settings, right click, and edit it. So in order for you to edit, you need to scroll down or browse to the to the policy where this minimum character settings are changed. It is on the computer configuration, policies, Windows settings, and security settings, and I think account policies and password policy. Well, it is very lengthy um, hierarchy or very steep, but you can always search for these. But if you're not really sure what the policy details are, in this case, it is straightforward. You can always select this policy here and go to the explain tab, and it will explain what this policy settings are about. In here, we will change it from 7 to 10. I just double click it and change it to 10. And that will harden your system more. It make it difficult to be subjected to brute force attacks. So once you do make this change is passed through all the OUs where this policy is linked. So the minimum password length is a part of the default domain policy here. Now I close it, and default domain policy is linked to the entire domain. So this becomes a part of the passwords within the domain. Now the catch up for the computers may take some time. It can take as many as 2 hours based on the description I read. And if you are interested in making this change very quick and with no lag on the sync, you can always run a PowerShell command. Here, this PowerShell command is basically saying GP update and /force. This will pass it to the computers instantly. Right? Now, these GPOs are distributed to the network through this sysvol, SYS wall, and this is basically stored in this directory. C Windows sysvol uppercase letters and lowercase letters. Now, let me clear up everything, and let's work on 2 examples where we will first create GPOs and apply to the domains. And the first one we will be looking at is copying, blocking non-IT users from accessing the control panel. That's the task we are assigned with. We need to create a GPO which will block all non-IT users from accessing the control panel. So let's first create a GPO, right click on the GPO and then click on the new, and let's give a label for that policy. It may be called restrict control panel access. Okay, so now it is created here. What we need to do is we need to right click and edit this on this GPO management editor. Okay, I'll enlarge the, in fact, I'll make it big in here. And this specific setting about the control panel is inside the user configuration, we don't need user configuration, policies, and administrative templates, control panel. I'm just moving it sideways so we can see that in control panel. And here, if you scroll down, it says prohibit access to control panel and PC settings. This is really what we would like to do. We will click on it, double click. It's not configured. We will enable it. We can write comments and discussions and everything and apply and okay. So it is enabled. All right. So I can now close it and I can go to this settings and check it out. And I don't see it on the user configuration. So I'll go right click, refresh. Now I can see it. So inside the policies, administrative templates, control panel, there you go. It says that prohibit access to control panel and PC settings. So once we have this GPO created, what we will do is we will link it to the OUs of interest. So this restriction applies to management. It's asking if we are sure. Yes. Management OU, marketing OU, research and development OU, and sales. Basically everything except for IT, because we would like IT to have access to the control panel. So we achieved the first task. Now let's have another task. Let me clear up the drawings. The second task we have is making workstations and servers lock their screen automatically after 5 minutes of user inactivity. Why do we do that? We would like people not to be exposed to data loss or data exploit by having their workstations and servers available for malicious actors, let's call it. All right, so this is the GPO that we need to create. So we can call it let me go over there. We can call it auto lock screen. So group policy objects here. New, and its name is auto lock screen after 5 minutes. And it's here. So I just edit it. And this auto lock screen is inside the computer configuration, policies, Windows settings. And from Windows, let me open up. We'll go to security settings, and then to the local policies, and then to the security options. And you will see a bunch of policies within the security options, and which was interactive logon. So machine inactivity limit, that's really what we are trying to do here. So we can set seconds. So we will say define this setting. Machine will be locked after 5 minutes, which is 300 seconds. Apply. Okay. Now we have this setting applied. Close it. And here restrict control access, I'm sorry, auto lock screen. If we go to the settings, let me refresh it. Okay, so security settings, local policies, other interactive logon, mission activity limit 200 seconds. So we can see it on the report, right? So what we will do is we will apply to entire domain because we will like this setting for all users in the domain. So it's a part of the domain, so it applies all the OUs and sub OUs. Well, that is really the lab. So in summary, we worked on group policy objects, GPOs. We learned how to create one, how to change and play with the settings of the policies, and how to link it to the corresponding OUs. And we can always come up with the setting that applies to the entire domain, such as the ones that we worked here: auto lock screen, default domain policy, and RDP script, RDP policies. All right, thanks for your time.